Our entire modern world, it's pretty much built on this one big promise, endless growth. But what if that promise is actually a myth? Today, we're going to dig into why that relentless pursuit of infinite growth is on a collision course with reality, and maybe, just maybe, figure out what a more sustainable future could even look like.
Have you ever felt that weird kind of homesickness for a place that's, well, it's still here, but it's changing and not for the better? Maybe it's a forest you used to love, or a coastline, or even just the way a season used to feel. It turns out there's a word for that feeling, solastalgia, and it's that deep anxiety you get from watching our world change right in front of us. That's actually where we're going to start, because that feeling, it's a huge signal that the systems we all live in are failing the planet we live on. So where does a feeling like that even come from? Well, it's basically our gut reacting to a really fundamental truth. Our entire civilization is on a collision course. Let's break down this basic conflict between our economy and our planet. So this ecologist, William E. Rees, he completely reframes our whole economic model with this really powerful idea. See, we tend to think of growth as creating new wealth, right? But what if what we're actually doing is just liquidating our inheritance? We treat the Earth's finite resources, clean air, fresh water, a stable climate, like it's some kind of infinite bank account. We're not living off the interest here, we're draining the main account dry. And this constant withdrawal, it leads to a state that scientists call ecological overshoot. It's actually a pretty simple concept. Our demand for resources has just blown past what the planet can regenerate in a year. Think of it exactly like a household budget. We're not just living paycheck to paycheck anymore. We're running up a massive credit card debt. And those interest payments, they're coming due, and they look like ecological collapse. So, okay, how in the world did we get here, right? How did such a smart species manage to create such a self-destructive system? Well, it really boils down to this incredibly powerful delusion, this idea that our economy is somehow separate from the world it exists in. Yeah, this really just lays out the massive disconnect. On one hand, you have the dominant economic model. It kind of treats the economy like it's just floating in a void, totally separate from the environment. The thinking is, technology will solve any resource problem. But then you have, actual reality. Biophysical reality tells a totally different story. The economy is a subsystem that lives inside the environment. It's completely dependent on it. Nature has fundamental laws, right? And no amount of clever human ingenuity can just bypass physics. And a huge part of this delusion is our main scorecard for success, gross domestic product, or GDP. It was originally designed to measure manufacturing output, and it's fantastic at counting cars and widgets. But here's the thing, it completely ignores almost everything that actually makes for a good life. Things like healthy communities, stable ecosystems, our own well-being. GDP can't tell the difference between a transaction that improves our lives and one that's just cleaning up a disaster. And Helena Norberg Hodge just drives home how completely absurd this is. Think about it. Crime, pollution, sickness, they all make GDP go up. Why? Because they generate economic activity. A massive traffic jam, with everyone burning fuel and going nowhere, is literally better for the economy than you taking a walk in the park. So this isn't just a flawed metric we're talking about. It's a reflection of a totally flawed values. We are chasing the wrong number, plain and simple. Okay, so a really common response to all this is, wait, but can't technology fix it? Can't we just have green growth? And this gets into the idea of these false saviors. The answer, unfortunately, is a lot more complicated than just slapping on a simple tech fix. This really is the multi-trillion-dollar question, isn't it? The big promise of green growth is that we can somehow decouple economic expansion from environmental impact, just by switching to renewables and getting way more efficient. And look, it's a super appealing idea. Who wouldn't want that? But it runs into some really hard physical realities. So one of the biggest hurdles is this thing called the Jevons paradox. Way back in the 1800s, an economist noticed something weird. As steam engines got more efficient, England started burning more coal, not less. And why? Well, because that efficiency made coal cheaper, which opened up a ton of new uses for it. That exact same paradox holds true today. You see it all the time. More fuel-efficient cars often just lead to people driving more. The bottom line is, in a system that absolutely demands growth, efficiency gains don't lead to conservation. They just lead to more consumption. And this, right here, is maybe the most powerful metaphor for the whole problem. Trying to have green growth without changing the fundamental economic operating system, it's like electrifying the Titanic. I mean, sure, you're changing the power source, that's great, but you're still aimed squarely at the same iceberg because the fundamental goal, endless expansion, hasn't changed one bit. Okay, wow, that was the heavy part, for sure. Really breaking down the problem. But just sitting in the problem, that only leads to despair, right? So the good news is there is a path forward, and it involves rediscovering a worldview, one that's both ancient and totally new, that helps us remember our proper place in the world. The real shift, it has to start in our own minds. For centuries, we've been telling ourselves this story of human exceptionalism, that we're separate from nature, that we're masters of it. But as William Rees points out, that is a complete myth. We are nature. We are literally built from the air, the water, and the food of this planet. And remembering that, well, it isn't just some nice, fuzzy thought. It's the absolute foundation for a sane and lasting future. So, if we're not separate from nature, then how are we supposed to live? Well, bioregionalism offers a really compelling answer. It's the simple, but at the same time, totally radical idea that our cultures and our economies should be designed to fit the specific ecological realities of our place. Our watersheds, our soil types, our local climate. It's really all about becoming experts in our own home again.
And listen, this isn't just some abstract philosophical idea. Right now, all over the world, people are already building a completely new kind of economy, one that's regenerative, not extractive. So let's take a look at what that actually means on the ground, in practice. Maybe the most profound shift of all is redefining what we even mean by growth. The old model is obsessed with outer growth, right? More stuff, more money, more consumption. But a regenerative model, it pivots to inner growth. Things like enriching our communities, deepening our relationships, expanding our knowledge and our skills. Now that is a form of growth that doesn't deplete the planet. In fact, it's a kind of growth that can be truly infinite. And this is what that looks like on the ground, and I promise you, it is happening right now. It's that farmer's market that's not just about food, but about building community and shortening the supply chain. It's the local credit union that's actually investing in your neighbors instead of some faceless corporation halfway across the world. It's the tool library that's all about providing access instead of forcing everyone to own the same things. Every single one of these is a building block for a more resilient, more connected post-growth world. Okay, so this huge transition, it's not just something for governments or big institutions to figure out. It's really built from the ground up by all of us, just making different choices. So let's wrap this up with 3 really powerful steps you can take to start building this new economy right where you are right now. And these are incredibly practical. First, focus on food. It's our most direct, most intimate connection to the earth. Second, shift your money. Seriously, where your money sleeps at night really matters, so make sure it's working for your community. And third, embrace sharing. We just don't all need to own everything. A sharing economy cuts down on consumption while building up real wealth in our relationships and our skills. And that really brings us to the final thought here. For decades, our guiding question has always been, how do we grow the economy? But we've seen where that leads. So what if we just started asking a better question? A question that isn't just about size, but about quality. What would it actually take for us and for our planet to truly thrive? That might just be the most important question we could possibly ask.